What's up, Fred? What's up, everyone? Welcome back to This Week in San Diego Tech. Hey, Fred, how you doing?
Hey Neil, good to see you.
Good to see you too. I am live downtown. Let me take off this background and show you. Boom. Got the real downtown behind me, which is fun to be downtown. I am at Nautilus HQ, which is my old stomping grounds. Funny enough, 101 Broadway building is where I lived from 2013 to like 2019, 2020. Evo Nexus, second floor. The whole building is just bringing back a ton of memories, which is super fun. And then to be with Nautilus, where they're building the future of cargo and passenger planes, is super fun to see. This is more their office environment, not the hangar, so it's a lot cleaner here. But it's super fun to be with them. How are you?
I love it. I love it, Neil. Every time I talk to you, you're at a different HQ across San Diego. Some days you're in Carlsbad, some days you're in like the UTC area, and today you're downtown. And it could be a better weather day. I went to go see the Padres a couple days ago, and it was a little bit rainy, but it's great to see today was normal 65, 70 degrees, sunny weather in San Diego, what we're known for.
It's a beautiful day for sure. And yeah, I just love being out with founders, honestly. I mean, it's just like those are my peers, and I just want to be alongside builders who are building, and Zoom is not enough for me. So, yeah, I love to do it. And I love hearing that you're at the Padres because, man, Padres are on a heater right now, right? 7 and
They
0.
are. They are. It's I think it's starting out to be a historic red hot season. I saw a statistic, I think it was ESPN, that said both the Dodgers, which are 8-0, Padres are 7-0. This is the first time teams have made it this far undefeated since 2003. And I don't think there's ever been two teams in the same division that have made it this far winning streak. So it's an awesome time. People are excited. People are going to games. Let's hope they can keep it up. It's going to be a great rivalry between the Dodgers and the Padres. And the game I went to was awesome. And baseball season's back. San Diego is a baseball town, and super excited.
Yeah, I love it. It's so fun to see just the excitement, enthusiasm for sports. I just went last weekend to San Diego Football Club match, which was super fun. Honestly, they should have won 3-0. They still won 3-2, but it was electric. Like the hearing the crowd chant the whole time was so fun. And so yeah, sports is a good time for sports right now in San Diego for our two major league teams. That's for sure. It's also a good time to review how we did last quarter.
Startups get the party, startups get the party started. Startups get the party, startups get the party started. You want tech and tacos, tacos and tech. You know we got tacos and tech is on smash. For the green, guacamole. Keep accountants counting beans. Contador cuentan frijoles. Founders trying to raise some queso. La vida San Diego. School of rappy, rapping fire. Tortillas round jalapenos. In these modern times of craft beer and coffee. My coding yoga posse. Fold the body, origami. We be surfing Coronado. Eating tacos el gordo. The tacos stand in puesto. Lucha libre and sombrero. Gotta shout out Tecos. Tecos by the ocean. Watch the sunset. La Jolla shores. Entrepreneurs trying to get funded. When San Diego Startup Week is popping in the summer. Oceanside to Tijuana. SD be full of hustlers. From couch surfing to penthouses right on the beach. Tech leaders who believe stars are within reach. We interviewing founders who be shooting for the moon. Hashtag SD Tecos with your host, Neil Bloom. Come on! Startups get the party, startups get the party started. Startups get the party, startups get the party started. Startups get the party, startups get the party started. You want tech and tacos, tacos and tech. You know we got it, hey! Startups get the party, startups get the party started. Startups get the party, startups get the party started. Startups get the party, startups get the party started. You want tech and tacos, tacos and tech. You know we got it, hey!
You put out a great article on wrapping up the Q1 report on fundings, acquisitions, and let's dive into it because it was a good, Q1, I would say. What was your take?
Yeah, so I was really curious, look at the funding for this year. We basically hit 1 billion in venture capital funding for San Diego companies. There was about 40 deals in Q1, and the majority of the deals were actually in tech. I believe 25 were in tech, roughly 13 deals were in life science, and we had about 4 consumer deals. And usually this quarterly report is really just pulling out some of the top deals for tech. We saw Shield AI, they raised a 240 million round. I think they're now valued at 5 billion. They're probably our largest unicorn in town. Cyber Reason, that was new to my radar. They're in La Jolla, and they raised 120 million round. And Netrodyne, which is kind of an OG software company in town, they raised 90 million. Jumping over to life sciences, Timberlane Therapeutics had the top round in Q1, 180 million. I think they just emerged from stealth. So pretty large round. Carlsmed, which is a med tech company in Carlsbad, late stage, they raised 64 million. Light Horse Therapeutics, 62 million, and the list goes on. So we'll put that in. But Neal, we're talking kind of before the podcast about how, it seemed like some of the companies, there were only a handful of companies that had these mega rounds, which made it seem, San Diego is punching above its weight for the VC funding. But we also are seeing it go to, maybe a handful or a select companies versus 100 plus companies at pre-seed, seed, and whatnot.
Yeah, I mean, you look at that 1 billion, honestly, more than half, 55%, maybe 60% were from 4 companies, right? So that's not just a San Diego trend only, by the way. That is happening everywhere. We have been saying it quarter after quarter from these reports saying that bigger rounds with less deals. And I think it's a problem globally, but all I mostly care about is San Diego and how do we change that, which is more companies at the top of the funnel getting funded at the earliest of stages will widen our funnel to have more companies doing more later. So yeah, that's what sticks out to me here, is I went straight to the Connect, database of fundings, and I was like, all right, how many of these were seed? How many were pre-seed, and how many were Series A? It actually was healthy across the board. They call their pre-seed still Angel. So if you want to look through that, just go filter for Q1 2025. We'll put a link in here. Still some deals that we saw in there. Like Xylo did their Series A raise here, which stuck out to me in that quarter, and a few other tech Series A's and seed deals. But we still got to do more. I think the job is never done. And even if we had $1 billion quarter, and let's say we end up at $1 billion every quarter this year, that's a $4 billion year, where last year we were at a $6 billion year. So in a sense, we got to keep the pace if we want to show that we're even, be able to at least maintain, if not grow. We ought to be able to grow for sure. So it's a good data point here. And there's a few other companies that we can talk about that are getting funded, but let's actually jump real quick because I think there's a good story here around cool companies next. And so what do we do about it, right? We got $1 billion in funding for companies. We know we got to help early stage companies go get funded at the earliest of stages to be, continue build great businesses here. And so Cool Companies was announced, which is totally built around that. How do we highlight the top 25 plus companies that are really ready for growth? They're seed ready or Series A ready. And that's what San Diego Venture Group has been doing for the longest time. Now Connect, that highlights and spotlights these companies who are Series A ready in the April to May timeframe. So why don't we dive right into that? You want to share some of the companies here that were announced just this week?
Yeah, so Cool Companies has been around, I think, since 2005. I think over 3 billion in funding have been gone to Series A. I might butcher the number, but there's over
900
$1 billion, 500 million,
900.
900 million. So almost $1 billion have gone to Series A plus companies who've gone through Cool Companies. Obviously, Connect is a nonprofit that supports innovation in San Diego. Yeah, some of the companies that were awarded or this Cool Companies badge this year, IPOP AI, Look AI. There's a lot of AI companies for sure. Joist AI. We had a couple real estate focused firms like Retro Rate, which I know we know the co-founders of. There was actually a few therapeutic and life science companies, Vero Therapeutics, which is another biotech company in town. I think there's about, I don't know, 25, 30 companies. And yeah, if you're interested in learning who was accepted, we will link that in the show notes. There's also going to be a summer social happening by Connect on June 3rd. And a lot of these cool companies will have booths. So you can go meet the founders and learn more about the cool companies that they're building right here in San Diego.
Yeah, it's been great to see this year's list. Within Interlock, we have two companies in our portfolio that were on this list, iPop and Retrorate, which was great to see. What I like to see looking across this is a bit of the broadness of the industries that the tech companies are in, but also some density. So Joist AI is construction tech. So is Look AI. Namara Water is like water sensing for the home, also kind of construction and sensor related. So that was cool to kind of see some grouping. Plus, Retrorate is prop tech, around that as well. And then Loopholes, which was a Techstars company last fall doing marketing technology, alongside Privacy Hawk, which is cybersecurity at the enterprise stage. So it was cool. Just kind of look around and see the cross section of the tech here: hardware, software, on the tech side, which is, I think, a good showing of San Diego here. That's for sure. I would say some of these are still pre-seed maybe. And so you've got some kind of companies who are ready to raise maybe their first institutional round on this, either raise their first full seed or their first full Series A. So, it's on us now to make sure that these companies get in front of the right investors to close their first full round. I would say this community should want to help with that. So yeah, we'll see him. The VCs come out and see him late April, early May for like a preview showing, and then Summer Social, which I think is planned to be in Carlsbad this summer. We'll put the link in here, June 3rd, up the flower fields up in Carlsbad. So great to see that list, and congrats to all the companies who've been named there. Let's go back to some fundings. You highlighted one, Thatch AI, co-founders here in San Diego. You had a great article maybe a year ago on them. You want to take us through Thatch's, what they're doing and their funding round?
Yeah, so we actually did feature this company. It's called Thatch AI. We featured it in about October when they raised, I think the Series A was like 38 million in funding from top SF investors. A guy named Adam, he's one of the co-founders. He's actually based in San Diego. This company is actually based in San Francisco. But one thing we've been trying to do is showcase, companies that also have presence in San Diego and growing and have some talent here. This company, they are focused on transforming the health insurance experience. They help both employers and employees access healthcare services at an affordable rate. So they just raised a large round, 40 million, led by Index Ventures. They're also got some other great investors on the cap table like A16Z, General Catalyst. And this company has been on a tear. They've only been founded under 5 years ago, and a lot of their employees have come from Stripe. One of the co-founders came from Stripe. Actually, both co-founders came from Stripe, and they've been recruiting a lot of big tech and other Y Combinator type startup talent. So definitely a company to watch. It's great to see. This news was just announced on Thursday this week, and we will link that in the show notes if you're interested in learning more about what they're building.
Awesome. Something back to your Q1 report. You had some great kind of way of pulling in all the M&A and IPO activity. I think we had one IPO, but we had a bunch of M&A, both companies getting acquired and San Diego companies acquiring other companies, which was good data to have there. We kind of highlighted in the past pods about Gretel AI and Mosaic Tech, getting acquired. Something that caught my eye is an article I saw on LinkedIn of just like global M&A to date, 1 year over year. So looking at Q1 2024 and Q1 2025. And from this LinkedIn post that I have linked in here, it was a record-setting quarter for billion plus acquisitions at 54 billion in acquisitions of VC-backed startups. Now, first of all, half of that went to Wiz itself, which was a Google acquisition. But still, a year ago, 2 startups sold for over 1 billion. This quarter, 11 startups sold for over 1 billion. So year over year, pretty good, I would say, in that regard. Also, so here are the questions that obviously we're going to ask, and we're going to analyze week over week here. What's the difference, right? Does the new administration offer this feeling of change that M&A can happen? That's definitely what people thought about with the Google Wiz, right? That this wouldn't get blocked and now is the time to make this happen. People also feel IPOs window is maybe reopening. We'll check on markets in a second here. Hold your thought on that. And then also record dry powder. There are more PE firms who are sitting on even more dry powder right now, whether they've raised it and are waiting to deploy, or they've had exits and are redeploying in that regard too. So good to see macro and level in that regard, and we'll keep it poised of what we see going forward and how that's affecting San Diego. Now, the hottest news of this week, markets wise, is the tariffs and what did they do to markets. If you are someone who opens your Robinhood app in the morning and just see red, well, close it for the rest of the week because it is a bloody week, that's for sure. You had the number on it. What was how much down was the market this week, just today alone?
Bloomberg had an article that came out today, and it was about the Trump tariffs. It wiped out $2 trillion from the S&P 500 index. Some of the companies that saw the biggest impact, value loss in their stock was Apple, Amazon, followed by Nvidia, among others. I'm sure if you go on X or Twitter, you will see a lot of pain pictures of the stock market, and I would say the color red for much of the stocks across the U.S. It's a tough market today, and hopefully this doesn't continue. But I think there's a lot of concerns that there's a coming recession from these tariffs, and the dust haven't settled yet. No one really knows kind of what's next. Things are happening day to day, and so we'll continue to talk about the local stuff happening in San Diego. We're also talking about the macro stuff happening globally because both are important.
Totally. Yeah. I mean, first of all, when I say we, I mean you, me, Fred, but also kind of the startup community. We are long-term focused here. Like one day does not change or sway us. Like we are dedicated for the long haul. We've been at it decades. We're going to do it decades because we believe in building great businesses here. So, market changes maybe your attitude for the day, but hopefully it doesn't change your conviction on what to do long-term here. That being said, 2 trillion in loss, like that's pretty much what the new administration was trying to cut out of their budget spend per year, and it was cut in one day. So a little scary in that regard, but like we said, long-term focused, and we know that I think San Diego, opportunity-wise, has a big opportunity from just being a community that does a lot of industries: hardware, software, life science. The manufacturing side is what will be interesting to see how these tariffs affect our companies, right? We've already seen companies pull in their manufacturing supply chains from China to Mexico. What is that going to do? Mexico already came out and said, we are not going to do retaliatory tariffs. So even if you're, doing a tariff on us, we're not going to do it back to the US. What does that mean now? I don't know. So all those things are interesting to watch. And our style of going out and being with founders every day and being with companies, we then synthesize it back through this pod of what we're hearing here. So keep your eye here with us and keep your eye on the horizon far down the road. Speaking of acquisitions, though, I did see two, one that happened and one that's rumored to be happening. So Qualcomm, one of San Diego's largest companies by market cap. Well, I don't know, based on today's market cap, I don't know. But still the biggest company in San Diego tech-wise, just acquired a generative AI company, which we can talk through in a second. And then is rumored to be buying a UK-based chip design company here too as well. I know these are kind of fresh on your radar here, Fred, but what's your take here?
This is pretty fresh on my radar. They acquired this AI company, and the founder of that AI company was he led Google's DeepMind. And how I saw the headline is we've seen Nvidia, we've seen AWS and others really lean into acquiring AI companies. For example, Nvidia acquired Gretel AI because they're trying to get ahead of this general AI race. And I think Qualcomm is like, hey, we have our own in-house AI products. How do we stay competitive? And one way they do that is by strategic acquisitions. Not only do they invest in early stage startups, specifically in AI, but now they're acquiring, and they've been acquiring, talent and IP so they can remain competitive in this space. And obviously, I'm sure you've seen Neal, OpenAI's new their new model. Everyone's using it, with the photos and just the capabilities they have. They've been rolling out. It's really been wowing the industry. And I assume big tech are like, how do we remain competitive in this space? And one way is by acquiring smaller companies who are the leading forefront of it.
Yeah, you see it at NVIDIA where they are kind of verticalizing. They not just a hardware company, they've got the firmware to run their chips, and then they're building software and even their own models to run on their own chips. And I think you see that in other places as well too, with Qualcomm, who is building ecosystems to, they have an AI ecosystem so that their chips that are being used in places where AI could best be run, the software companies are there as well too. We've seen actually, I think we talked about a few weeks ago, the partnership that IPOP formed with Qualcomm, right? To have and build a vision system, AI ecosystem using Qualcomm chips. Totally makes sense for Qualcomm want to be deeply investing in this. I think the other part related to tariffs and others, Qualcomm being a fabless firm, meaning they design the chips, but they don't actually make them. They're made by TSMC and Intel at some point, probably, or maybe another fab. And that's under threat with tariffs and the threat of China and other thing like that. So Qualcomm, who has already been in this big diversification rush, right? Get out of only handsets only and get into other things, makes sense for them to be getting and finding other use cases for their chips into AI, which is pretty much in every other sense of the word these days. And at some point soon, like we're gonna start saying AI is software and software is AI, right? Like it's just kind of synonymous almost at this point. That one is the other and the other is one. I think to date, I have been saying, software is the brand, is just like what the kind of product is, and behind the scenes, AI is what the language is or the tech stack. But they're becoming synonymous. Definitely the pitch decks that are coming my way. They're no longer we're a software company, we're an AI company. So all that's interesting to watch. And I would imagine a hardware company like Qualcomm is deeply focused on staying relevant in that as well too. So we link those in the show notes, and you can read on those deals as well too. Let's just jump right down to the consumer news that you had here about Cymbiotika.
Yeah, so there was a consumer-focused company, Cymbiotika. They recently has been recognized by Inc. Fastest 500 companies, or I think fastest growing private companies in the US. They're ranked number 10. They saw nearly 600% increase in revenue from 2022 to 2024. For me, this is a company to watch. Tech and life science gets a lot of the love. Something that we preach on this podcast is that consumer is a continued be a thriving sector in San Diego. And, we're working to gather, the CEOs and leaders in the consumer space. But, it's really important just to showcase there's real talent in companies being started day in, day out in San Diego consumer. This was a husband and wife team. They founded in 2019, and they're just crushing it. They have products in retail spaces. They also sell products online. We'll link them in the show. So check them out and support local consumer brands.
Yeah. Hell yeah. We highlighted last week a little sad news on the consumer side, the kind of the unfortunate death of Pura Vida. But there was talent that was born there for sure that is going on to other things. And in fact, other talent that we saw, some trends and highlights we saw here is actually the change of leadership at another consumer brand here at Blenders, which has been a long time consumer focused sunglasses company led by Chase Fisher, San Diego State alum, who had a pretty good exit, I believe, to Luxottica a few years ago. But you saw the news here that he was stepping up to the chairman role here. Take it away, Fred.
Yeah, this is fresh news. This was about posted 6 hours ago from Chase Fisher himself. He welcomed a guy named Jack Gray, who's a new CEO of Blenders Eyewear. And Jack had a pretty great post on LinkedIn as well. And he said it's rare kind to have the kind of self-awareness that, Chase Fisher, the CEO and founder of Blenders, had to kind of shift gears. And, I think it's kind of a next chapter for Blenders. Jack comes from Adidas, Parks Project, and Black Crows. This guy is a veteran in the apparel space, and I'm excited to see where Blender goes next. Obviously, they were put on the map when they had a collaboration with Deion Sanders and the Colorado football team, and they're really just getting started. Even though Blenders did have an acquisition by a bigger sunglass company, Chase Fisher does still have ownership. I think a minority ownership in the brand, and so he remains and continues to hire locally. This is a turning page. We're just talking about how there has been a lot of reshuffling in leadership spaces in the last few months. We also saw Shield AI had a new CEO come in, which I believe came from Silicon Valley, running a few large companies, including Cisco. The new Ryan Sin is actually stepping away and kind of moving up to president. Still involved at Shield AI's day to day, but they're bringing in some real senior leadership to help steer the company to its next chapter.
Yeah, it's interesting to see. I would say, after you get acquired, a few things happen. One, you've got some performance metrics usually to hit. You've got an earnout that says, here's how much time that you have to kind of be locked in with some golden handcuffs. So that part, typical to see a CEO step out of that. Though I think maybe after acquisition, I think it might have been, how long? 4 or 5 years? No.
Yeah, a couple of years. Yep.
Okay. So, what we only can hope is that he's already got this next idea ready to go, and he's going to do it here, hopefully, in town, and go build another great company based on things that he's learned, which is great. Shield, where I think they're still, they're a private company. They're still got a lot of leg room to keep growing from where they're at, just because where you see some of these defense techs going and these hardware companies who, kind of the next generation of the defense industry here. I think it's interesting to see the next CEO take the reins from, maybe what was from 0 to 100 million revenue, and now it's the 100 million to a billion or 10 billion revenue. I think that's super noble of Ryan as well too. I first met Ryan, by the way, in this building, 101 Broadway, when he was in Evo Nexus. I think it was for a prior company. It was a company that was a lockbox to lock your snack foods, I think. And then big pivot, started Shield AI. So congrats, Ryan, on the super run. And we'll continue to shout and cheer Shield AI from the 101 Broadway rooftops here. That's for sure.
That's a cool story. That's a cool story, Neal. That's awesome.
Yeah, it's it's full circle for this building to see what has launched literally from this building. So events coming up. So we're gonna put this podcast out probably on Friday. The Founders Hike has already happened. So thanks everyone for coming out to the April Founders Hike. And then we'll do it first Friday of every month, by the way. So check it out in May. And then coming up, first Mondays by Startup San Diego is coming up Monday, April 7th, which has got a panel and a whole big crew of people coming out, hundreds of people lately coming out to the first Monday's event. Also coming up soon is the return of 1 Million Cups, April 16th. 1 Million Cups, which is a global event, happens every Wednesday at 9 a.m. where 2 startups do a pitch and the audience gives feedback on their pitch. I actually gave 1 Million Cups my pitch in 2013 in October. It was only week 2 of 1 Million Cups at Co-Merge, which doesn't even exist anymore. And it was happening every week. So it's great to see the event coming back to town. And I will be there supporting and seeing new pitches from 2 new companies. That's for sure. I want to give a shout out to Jonah and Ross did a Bootstrappers event this past week, which was awesome. Highly curated for full-time bootstrappers. These are people building mostly software products, but they're full-time on it. Everyone there was just showing the product. I signed up for half of them on the spot. It was a really well curated event. So cheers, Jonah and Ross, for putting that on. Ross has built a killer bootstrap software business, or AI business, if you will. And Jonah, who's collecting, all the events that are happening, is now getting into putting on his own events because he's seeing holes and gaps of areas, which I think is awesome. So kudos to you. If you want to find upcoming events, make sure you check the Social Coyote link in the show notes here. And we will see you out there because that's what we do. We see you in the community. So make sure you come and say hi. I'm headed to the Techstars Mentor Kickoff event right now in Del Mar. Fred, I know you got a big workout you got to go do, so I'll let you go. But Fred, thanks for joining. Pleasure as always. Thank you for being here.
Always a pleasure, Neal. See you next time.
Cheers. Thank you.
Startups get the party, startups get the party started. Startups get the party, startups get the party started. You want tech and tacos, tacos and tech. You know we got tacos and tech is on smash. For the green, guacamole. Keep accountants counting beans. Contador cuentan frijoles. Founders trying to raise some queso. La vida San Diego, school of rappy, rapping fire. Tortillas round jalapenos. In these modern times of craft beer and coffee, my coding yoga posse, fold the body, origami. We be surfing Coronado, eating tacos el gordo. The taco stand in puesto, lucha libre and sombrero. Gotta shout out Tecos, Tecos by the ocean, watch the sunset. La Jolla shores, entrepreneurs trying to get funded. When San Diego Startup Week is popping in the summer, Oceanside to Tijuana, SD be full of hustlers. From couch surfing to penthouses right on the beach. Tech leaders who believe stars are within reach. We interviewing founders who be shooting for the moon. Hashtag SD Tecos with your host, Neal Bloom. Come on! Startups get the party, startups get the party started. Startups get the party, startups get the party started. Startups get the party, startups get the party started. You want tech and tacos, tacos and tech. You know we got it, hey! Startups get the party, startups get the party started. Startups get the party, startups get the party started. Startups get the